Alright, welcome to Comic Book Wednesdays, a weekly series where we talk about comic books. We're your hosts. I'm Ian.
I'm Al.
And I'm Shane.
Alright, if you're enjoying our content, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. This week we are reading the last three chapters or issues of Watchmen. So that should be 10, 11, and 12, if I remember correctly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm gonna start when I read Watchmen, or I remember Watchmen, I should say, there are certain panels or scenes that stick out in my head as I'm remembering fondly the book. As I said, I just have this
You fondling the
romanticized.
book?
Yeah, I got a little hole in the back, and I just thanks, Alan.
It's all those blue dick scenes, right?
Yeah, you know
Sorry.
it. Um,
Oh god, I'm gonna
the
die.
the the scene where you first experience John's view of time, I have that in my head. I have the Night Owl and uh, Miss Jupiter love scene in the owl boat or the owl ship. I got the prison scene, and then I have the big fucking octopus monster alien thing. um, that that shows up at the end of this book. They're the things that I remember the most, and I'm like, yeah, that book is great. It's rad. Fucking space dimension. Fucking Ozymandias. Awesome.
Nonsense.
Yeah. Not remembering that there's a ton of fucking fluff in this book. But yeah. I'm happy we read it, and I'm happy we're here at the end. Just because I was having a really tough time, especially the last 2 weeks where I've been a little under the weather. Um,
Mhm.
just exhausted. I fell asleep reading the second issue this week. Not that it's a terrible issue. It's just it takes a lot out of you.
Oh, it was
But
They're
dry.
long issues, I feel like too. Like they're dry, like Shane said, but they seem like they go forever.
there's just so much dialogue. They're only about 24
I know.
pages. The last one was 28 or something like that, maybe close to 30. But yeah, I mean, Al, let's choose out. Let's start with you, man. Let's hear your feelings, not only from this week, but then expand on the book as a whole.
So this week I thought they were, good. Obviously the last issue was the best. But it's funny, the one thing that I really enjoyed from the book overall was the Black Frigate comic. I don't know why I enjoyed that so much, and I wish I had just read that more than reading Watchmen.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that because I'm gonna be honest, I stopped reading the Black Frigate lines because it was just so much. So we're on opposite ends of the spectrum as far as that's concerned.
Which is fine, everybody takes what they take from the books, and that's what's
Well,
neat about this whole thing is, you know, you're allowed to have that opinion.
definitely, yeah. Um, Tell me though, why do you love it so much? I really want to
I don't
hear.
know. It's just like the character development of the castaway, and you know, I don't. It was just really interesting to me, and like the ending of it was really painful for the character.
Mhm. Well, how do you approach it then? Because reading the both lines of dialogue at the same time really throws me through a loop. I just have a really hard time with it.
That's the way I was doing it. It was really hard to do because it just like it did not work well. So what I started doing was reading Watchmen dialogue first, all of it, on whatever frame I was on, and then going back and reading the Black Frigate dialogue.
So you would approach it twice.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
That's smart. Good job, Al.
I try. I try. What was your opinion, Shane?
Honestly, I'm in the same boat as Ian. It was really hard for me to focus, and I did not even think as an option to go back and reread that second comic. To me, like, there were some bits where I could see like the analysis and like with that second issue with Ozymandias kind of like monologuing, if that was in the second issue, if I'm remembering that correctly,
Yeah.
where he was kind of like monologuing, and you would have him like talking about something, and then the image would be of somebody else doing something. Like, I can see where you're coming from because there's definitely points of analysis there because I did take some notes
Mhm.
on Ozymandias' monologuing bits, but some of those, like with that comic, it was really hard for me to keep up with it.
Yeah. It's not a bad book. It's just I don't know if it's pretentious. Am I just not smart? Like, but it just feels pretentious to me.
I don't know, pretentious, but like Alan Moore's a very dense writer. And so I think within the confines of a comic, he was trying to pack in all of these lore bits, all of these like reasons why, all of these like inner analytical things that would make the content of the comic more like a more in-depth take on certain things. And I understand why he was doing that from like a writer perspective, but
Mhm.
also like as a reader, it was just really hard for me to go in and read both of them with the Watchmen comic as it stands being just dense on its own.
Yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah, it's absolutely fair. Um, I'm gonna say like as far as like consuming this piece of media, I think I enjoy the movie more. It's something I plan on watching within the next week or so. Um, I don't know when, but when I'll have the time to do it.
Mm.
But I think the movie is a better piece of media, honestly, than the book. I just like the adaptation better. It kind of like there are things in the book that's kind of confuddled to me, and Zack Snyder as a director really kind of like puts it out in a nice way for me, while still
Mm.
remaining true to the source material to a point. You know, he does change some things, but not a ton.
Right.
Uh, Alex, was this your first time experiencing the giant octopus squid monster that is the end of this book?
Yeah, because I don't. I mean, I don't, like I said, I haven't watched the movie in a very long time,
They don't do that in the
so
movie.
they don't do that in the movie. Okay, so yeah,
No.
that was the first time I saw that. How did they end the movie?
There's a big blue blast reminiscent of Dr. Manhattan's powers that blows up New York. So they kind of pin it on Dr. Manhattan
Okay.
rather than
Hmm.
an alien invasion.
Yeah, that's to jump around a little bit. Sorry for interrupting. That surprised me. I expected it to be the, oh, we're gonna blame Doctor Manhattan for nuclear fallout, but this was kind of threw me off a little.
Yeah, the whole like creating a clone of a human conscience in a genetics lab and making it a giant squid alien monster to like fake an alien invasion and then blow it up, causing a psychic blast to disturb people to the point where like more sensitive people have nightmares for years, probably the rest of their lives. It's pretty fucked. Also, disintegrating half of New York while doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little fucked.
Also, I have to. This made me just think of this. Probably my favorite line in the three comics was like, "Did you think I would actually monologue my fucking plans to you, but give you a chance to beat me?" It's like I did that shit 35 minutes ago. You're like, what? And then he had to like convince him that he did it.
There was a couple of scenes that were pretty wild there,
Oh yeah. Oh god.
like
Um,
Rorschach getting blown up to bits.
yeah.
That
Begging
was
Doctor
intense.
Manhattan to blow him up. Um,
And
that
like
was
the scene where he opens the dome and like lets his boys freeze to death.
Yeah, he just kills his guys. They were just having some brews.
Some celebratory brews, and this dude just like fucking smokes them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great friend. 11 out of 10.
Yeah, I would not invite him to the cookout.
No. He is revoked from cookout privileges. I did see the, like, kind of, oh god, what's the word I'm looking for? Best thing I can find is comparison. When he was monologuing about his connection to Ramses II and how, like, he was, Alexander the Great was off conquering all of these places, and he's like, oh, and then his empire faded, and then he just froze his friends, and he's like, oh, it all fades, and it's like, okay, well, I get it, like in Egypt, everything just gets buried in dust, but that was like 5 minutes, dude. Like, I don't think your friends would have cared that you were just talking shit, but whatever. You have
Yeah,
no
it
problem
was
killing
pretty
people,
wild.
clearly.
Also, they totally just
Yeah, for a
like
pacifist and a vegetarian and this and that, that they made him
Yeah.
out to be, it was like, oh, you really are a piece of shit.
what would be the appropriate term to describe him? I don't think he's a psychopath. Maybe
Douchebag?
a douchebag. Yeah.
Well, it's
I
funny
was
because like you guys like made it out to be like Dr. Manhattan was like this fucking awful piece of shit, and really it seemed like I forget what his name is.
Ozymandias.
Medeiros is like the bigger piece of shit.
Oh well, no, he's the biggest piece of shit. Doctor Manhattan can't really control like his emotions. He just has
Right.
um,
I didn't see. That's the thing. Like to me, it didn't It didn't make me think, oh, he's a piece of shit because he can't control his emotions. Like it was just kind of like, oh, he's almost a robot esque
mhm.
in that mindset, Whereas like Mendeus was just like, you are a garbage human being.
He is a piece of shit. Um,
I did find that to be a little, like, interestingly weird is the best way that I can describe it. Where at the end, where they were talking to Dr. Manhattan, and they were just like, oh, well, you just realized that you actually care about humanity, and he's like, I do, which is why what he did is horrible, but we all want peace, so we just have to not talk about it.
yeah.
And
Now,
it's like, what?
yeah. So it's like, would you kill? It's like the trolley car thought
Mm.
experiment. You know, it's the
Hmm.
same exact thing. You know, would you switch? You have the ability to switch the track of the trolley. Would you switch it to kill the 5 or the 1? And there's 5. There are like 5 serial killers and like one none or whatever. You know, like
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. Like,
yeah.
he tried to hold that in a good moral dilemma, and like you could see that on Dr. Manhattan's face. But what
Mm.
really like took me over the edge and made me lose that moment was immediately after that when Night Owl was like, "Yeah, okay, we just can't talk about this," and Rorschach's like, "No, we can't compromise," and it's like, "Oh, we're gonna have like this interaction with all the characters," and then Jupiter and Night Owl end up having sex because impending doom and confusion. And I was like, where the hell did this come from? This
I
seems
think
really out of place.
so. Like, um, Lori wants to have. She just wants to experience another human being because she's just so grateful to be alive. I think the line's like, let me feel, taste you, like, smell you, just because I can, because I am alive. Let us make love because we feel that we are alive. So she's just like in this like state of despair, but also like she just can't believe that she has life, and all those millions of people don't.
Okay, so it was more trying to describe the fact that she was in shock.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. I didn't really like. I guess with the way that I was reading it, it was just kind of like, oh, here's some dialogue. Here's this. Oh, now they're doing it again. All right.
Yeah. And then Dr. Manhattan was like, hey, hey, hey.
No, I'm just gonna stand here and watch it for a minute.
Yeah.
Creepy old man style.
I'm
Yeah,
like,
creepy
dude, what are
old
you doing?
blue penis.
Ian with a hole in his book.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. And it's impressive because it's a hardcover.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Oh.
Got that velvet insert.
But yeah, no. I mean, I would say overall, I still enjoy Watchmen as a whole. But man, I don't know if I'll be reading it for another 10 years.
So, as my first impression of the book, like, I enjoyed the read for what it was,
Mhm.
but comics as a whole, Watchmen, I don't think would ever be my first choice ever again.
That's fair. That's fair.
I
Can you
understand that. Yeah.
Can you understand why it's considered like one of the greats?
Oh yeah, no, definitely, I get it. It's just, it's not my style of comic that I enjoy.
That's absolutely
Like,
fair.
it just, I can understand the ruling of it being a must read. It's just, it's not me, and like, I get it for a lot of people that it is. Like, it was a good book.
Yeah. It's one. I think it's for a selective audience. It's very heavy at times. Maybe too much for an enjoyable read. You know.
Yeah.
I think the way you phrased it is like a once every so many years kind of thing. Do you go back and look it over? But, and I hope I'm not interjecting too much, but I really feel like the movie did a great job. Like, I'll rewatch the movie every so often, but like, would I reread this again as frequently as I'd probably watch the movie? Doubtful.
Yeah. No, it's fair. I think it's absolutely fair. I think we're on the same page as far as that's concerned.
I mean, I wish I enjoyed it more than I did. It just, like, I don't know. It seemed very, very drawn out and dark, and like I said, not my style. But it was. I'm not gonna lie, it was good. I'm glad
Yeah.
we did read it, but I won't read it again.
Yeah.
At least for not a while.
It's an experience, and I'm glad that you're able to bring it in. Um, if I ever, if a person on Earth ever has the unfortunate circumstances to be my child, they are going to be reading Watchmen at one point. Um,
That's good.
but yeah, and maybe at that point I'll read it with them, but that'll probably be the only other scenario where I do go into it again. Um, well, I I think there's a nice little sum up there of our feelings on the book. Maybe at one point in the future we'll talk about the movie. Who knows? Um, but up next, Al, why don't we talk about what your pick is?
So we're gonna be reading the Thrawn trilogy in graphic novel form, which I can tell you is going to be amazing. Just from the novelizations of Heir to the Empire, Dark Forces Rising, and The Last
Last
Command
Command.
were fucking amazing books. And I'm hoping the comic holds up to it. I don't know why it wouldn't. It should be just page for page almost. But, I'm really excited because, Shane, I really want you to see how much I hate Disney for this reason. Ian, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So like I
I'm
loved Heir to
ready.
the Empire and not Dark Forces, Last Command. Dark Forces was good, but like I like the other two a lot more.
Yeah,
I couldn't put down Heir to the Empire once I started it. So
they're such good books, man.
yeah, they're
And like,
fantastic.
I'm sure the comics won't fill it out as much as the book did, but they're still, I have high hopes.
Me too. I can't
And
wait.
Shane, if you ever get a chance to read the novelizations of it, take your chance because they're freaking great books.
drops.
You're corrupting me, and I'm all for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the paperbacks are like a couple bucks. They're because
Yeah,
they're
I
like
mean,
mass
I've
market. Is
bought.
that what they call those?
What's that?
I think there's like the mass produced ones. They're like cheaply made, but they're not. They're decent. You know, you can put them in a fucking book bag or whatever if you take them on a flight. They're small.
I mean, dude, I've paid uh a penny for a lot of my books. I mean, it was $3.99 shipping, but you know, like if you go on Amazon and you go to the new and used stuff, you can get a
Yeah,
book for a penny and pay the shipping and have it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
that's
so
sick. All right, all right. Okay, well, I think that's it. So if you're tuning in next week, we will have Star Wars content. Thanks everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed our Watchmen series. If you have any suggestions, because we'll be coming back around to my pick after we're done Al's books. Uh,
Mhm.
so if you have any suggestions, let us know. So again, please subscribe, like, comment. This was Comic Book Wednesdays, and I was Ian.
Al,
I'm Shane.
I almost called myself Shane.
Again.
Good night, everybody.